All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. You ready to get into it?
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right, so today we're looking at something, honestly, it's pretty messed up. It's a thing called drapetomania.
Yeah.
And it's really a disturbing look at how, just twisted science was used to justify slavery.
Yeah, it's really chilling. We're going to be looking at this excerpt from a text all about this so-called disease. It's really going to take us back to the heart of the American South in 1851.
Right, and think about it. The year is 1851, enslavement is rampant, and you have people escaping, trying to get to freedom.
Yeah.
Families are being ripped apart. It's just violence and cruelty everywhere.
And that's where our guy Samuel A. Cartwright comes in. He was a physician, and he figured out why these enslaved people were running away.
Right, so instead of, pointing at the very obvious and inhumane system of slavery, he basically said, nah, they have mental illness. That's why they're running.
Exactly. And he even gave it a name, Drapetomania. It was like some kind of sickness that made them want to escape.
So, wait, you're telling me that wanting freedom made you crazy?
Pretty much. And the worst part, the cure for this made-up illness was even more control, more whippings, things that would just push people further into that desperate need to escape.
Okay, hold on. This is wild to me. How did this even work? What were the symptoms of drapetomania?
Well, according to Cartwright, being sulky dissatisfied, showing any desire for freedom, like really normal human reactions to being oppressed, were twisted into symptoms.
It's like they tried to make it seem like wanting freedom was a disease instead of a natural human desire.
Absolutely. It's all about blaming the victim instead of the system. And this wasn't even a one-off thing. This kind of thinking pops up again and again throughout history.
You're so right. It's like they try to use science to justify these horrible power imbalances.
Yeah.
Like, what about that whole phrenology thing where they thought the shape of your skull determined your personality?
Oh, yeah. Or eugenics, which is a whole other horrifying level of messed up science. All these ideas were used to control and dehumanize people.
It's crazy to think about how easily knowledge can be twisted to serve those in power. Our source even points out that Cartwright went so far as to blame enslavers.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he basically said that enslavers weren't managing their enslaved people correctly, and that's what led to this drapetomania.
Wow. It's classic shifting the blame away from the oppressors and onto the oppressed. By calling the desire for freedom a medical condition, it made slavery seem legitimate and scientific.
Which is just heartbreaking,
Mhm.
because people actually believed it, and so many suffered because of this twisted logic.
It really highlights the dangers of blindly accepting what's presented as scientific fact. We always have to be critical, especially when it comes to power imbalances.
Yeah. And think about who benefits from this knowledge, who's being silenced or marginalized. It's a question we need to be asking ourselves constantly.
For sure. So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's keep in mind the lessons we can learn from Drapetomania.
Yeah, like how important it is to question everything. Look for those hidden biases, and don't be afraid to challenge the status quo, especially when something feels wrong.
Exactly. We have to remember that these dark chapters of history hold valuable lessons for us today.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on this one. It was heavy, but really important to talk about.
Definitely. And as you go about your day, think about it. Where do we see this kind of thinking happening today? What are the modern-day equivalents of drapetomania, and how can we make sure we're not falling for the same traps?
Those are some really powerful questions.
Yeah.
I hope everyone listening takes some time to really think about that. And with that, we're signing off. Thanks for listening, everybody.
See you next time.